Wow, thanks for that. Thank you for that very kind opening. I really, really appreciate it. And thank you for having us. I'm introducing, we're talking today about CRM data with Amanda Hromco from Ford. And we're going to dive right in. I would love for you to just tell everybody a little bit about your role. What do we mean by CRM? Yes. Tell us a little bit how you got to Ford.
That's okay. Hi. Winging it, right? So I lead CRM strategy at Ford. It is a new organization within the company. It's a pretty exciting time to be in the automotive industry. We are going through a transformation right now, which I know a lot of businesses are. But some really big changes that are happening within the organization, and it's pretty exciting to start to shift our mindset to customer first. I think when people think of Ford, they think of the dealer, and the organization would like to start shifting us to a more symbiotic relationship between the dealer and the customer and the brand.
What do you mean? I can shout. I have no inside voice anyway, so.
Yeah.
What do you mean by transformation, though? Ford is obviously a hugely established brand, and that can mean a lot of things. So as it relates to CRM, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I think it's more around how do we leverage all of the data that we do have. So Ford has a lot of data. I'm sure you're probably not surprised by that. And how do we start to use it to create more personalized experience for our customers? So again, usually when you're purchasing a car, it's very much going into a dealer, talking to that individual person that's local. How can we use our digital ecosystem, communications, and other types of touch points that we have, like your app, and then use customer data to kind of create that more tailored experience for our customers?
And when we were talking, you mentioned that right now you're known for the post-sale CRM.
Yeah.
So what you're transforming sounds to me really cool. Your job that they brought you in to innovate on is what to do ahead of time.
Yeah. So if you look at kind of like the ecosystem or the customer journey, a lot of the shop, buy, and deliver experience is really tailored towards what our partners out in the field are doing. And so what Ford realized and where we're focused on right now is how do we enhance that shop, buy, deliver experience for our customers, and turn our digital channels into more of those customer interfaces. So if you look at where the industry is heading, I think if you see or you go to a Tesla, it's a very different experience than a traditional OEM. And so I feel like that has kind of set the standard for other organizations to kind of pivot. And then the other thing that we're looking at is how do you create a better onboarding experience for your customers? So kind of once you purchase that vehicle, then you kind of like forget about your OEM, right? Until you need service. So how do we kind of start to build that relationship right after you purchase? How do we make it easier for you to learn about that large purchase that you do have? And then how do we make it more rewarding and build that loyalty so that when you think about service, you think about other products that you need, you're coming to Ford first?
Yeah, so how do you do that? I mean, we talked a little bit about customer strategy and segmentation, and that's really a two-part question.
It is. So right now, when I first came into the organization, and I'm still pretty new there, so there's been a lot of work that a lot of people there have done and really kind of started to hit the groundwork. So one of the focuses within the team is creating our customer data mart, so a data lake, essentially putting all of our data together that is really important for us to be able to touch, feel, and leverage to create those experiences. In the past, a lot of our experiences have been driven by your vehicle purchase. So let's say you go out and you buy the number one selling truck in America, the Ford F-150, and we would segment towards the F-150 customer. And instead, we're starting to think about behaviors or what life stage you're in. Because I might buy a Ford F-150 because I might be a new homeowner. And because I'm a young new homeowner, I need to start carting around a lot of supplies and go to Lowe's every day because I'm a DIYer. That is a very different life stage or lifestyle than somebody that buys an F-150 maybe because they're retired and they're maybe in their like second phase of their career and they want to start a new business. So how do we start to use behavioral data? How do we learn more about what our customers are doing or how they're using their vehicles? And then start to tailor communications and experiences to them that's based on their life stage. So I think a brand that does this really, really well, and I'm not just giving a shout out to my boss that works at Ford today. She's not even watching this, by the way, is McDonald's. McDonald's does this very, 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 very well. They really build their segmentation. If you go into their app, which is pretty amazing, I think they're a brand that does it really well. They think about your life stage. Like, when are you going to go eat there? Why are you eating there? What are the types of things that you do? And then they send you promos and offers based on your life stage. So let's say you're always a breakfast person, and that's where you're going for breakfast every day. They're not going to send you a coupon for a Happy Meal. They're going to say, hey, if you come in this morning, you're going to get a free coffee. And they're using that data to kind of drive those behaviors. And that's where we're trying to go as an organization.
How are you, for the lifestyle information that you're getting to begin segmenting that way, like how are you deciding what to use and when?
Yeah. So one of the things that Ford is amazing at is building out models. So we have some of the smartest people I've ever met in the world that are data scientists, data engineers. There's a whole team that supports that globally. And I'm telling you, they're some of the smartest people I've ever spoken to. And they have built, I think, over 120 models that helps us to understand more about our customers and the behaviors. So we're using and leveraging those models. Even if we pick a segment or say we want to do this one thing, we're taking a model and then we're applying that model to that segment to make sure that we're tailoring the message at the right time.
I know we also talked about this, but can 120 models be too many?
Yes, it can. So that's another thing that we're looking at right now. So just because you can build 120 models doesn't mean you should. And how do we take the things that are the most important for the business? So, I can give you an example of that. We are really trying to grow our accessories business. Accessories is a great part of the Ford experience, and they are definitely tailored to each vehicle, the highest quality and standard. I don't know if you guys have seen the new Broncos out there, which are pretty sweet cars. Those accessories are amazing. You can't buy them anywhere else. They're only built Ford proud. And they're great products. And so we want more people to learn about how can you make your vehicle personalized to you and really grow that business. And what we discovered was we actually didn't have a model for our accessories business. A lot of our models were based on, past focus areas like service and parts and selling the vehicles themselves. And so my team, along with our data engineers, our operations team, has worked over the last couple of months to build a new model for our accessories team, which we're very excited to start using in the next couple of months, and really use that data to help make decisions. So one of the things that we found out that was very interesting, going back to the F-150 customer, that if you don't sell an accessory within the first 14 days, it's the likelihood for them to purchase again goes down by 40%. And that if you target them 10 months after they bought their first accessory, they're more likely to purchase a second one. So those are the types of things that you can learn and then build and tailor your communications to kind of create that brand loyalty, because then it's almost like when the person is actually getting it, they're like, oh my gosh, I do need that. How did Ford know that? And I think some of the brands that have done that the best are, I think they talked about Apple. Target's really good at that with their paid media. So we wanna start to kind of build that up forward.
In other ways that you're thinking about that beyond the accessories, like I like to go back to the lifestyle idea, because Ford is such a, like when you see videos, et cetera, it's, and so many autos really want to play up their specific features in a car. So how do you feel like you're using data in other ways from a lifestyle standpoint? Like what kind of,
Yeah.
and by the way, how big of a change is this for your whole marketing team and everyone to?
Yeah. So they've been on this transformation before I joined. I would say it's been about the last 2 or 3 years since our CEO had Jim Farley kind of took over, kind of creating this new Ford Performance and Ford Plus future thinking of being more consumer first, which is really exciting to be a part of that kind of change within the organization. So they've been on this transformation for 2 years. And I think when people think, oh my gosh, like change at Ford's probably going to take forever, it's going to take a while. But I think there's like small incremental things that the organization has been able to do in a very short amount of time to get there and get moving quickly on these types of actions. So, they've plussed up their digital team, which is really amazing. They built a CRM team, which I'm very excited to be a part of. They've really invested in their global insights and analytics group to build out that customer 360 data mart. And then there are small things that we're doing just to learn along the way around lifestyle. So we have a consumer insights group, which I'm sure a lot of you all have, where you're getting a lot of great qual and quant data to understand who your consumers are and what you need to do. But I think it's really important, and I've done this a lot in my career, and I was even doing this in my last full-time position with a lot of other coworkers in the room that I worked with today. We did a lot of test and learn. So I think it's fine when you have the data. It's fine when you have the qual and quant to tell you what directionally what to go. But until you test it, until you create that controlled environment, until you create that A/B testing, it's really hard to know if that is really the direction you should be going or it's what your customers want. I think data can only go so far in telling you behaviorally what direction you should go, or give you that hypothesis to know what to test. But until you put it out in the market and test it, and then make sure you put that rigor around it, make it statistically significant, have your control group, it's really hard to know if that's the right direction you should go as a business. So I think that's a really good way to start, is if you have directionally where you think you want to go or a hypothesis, just stand up a test and learn little pod within your organization and start testing and learning those hypotheses, and make sure you have the right data to support it.
And you mentioned that you have a long history or DNA of understanding the consumer inside the headquarters.
Yeah.
And that, you're really bringing them in and understanding. So this test and learn idea then now will apply to the front end a little bit more rigorously. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, and I think test and learn can be for anything. So one of the first things I did on my first 90 days it was a little challenging to get through, but we did it. I was pretty excited. And it was a highlight for our head of sales. There was a direction that our legal team wanted us to go with a communication. And I was like, I don't feel like this is very customer first. It's confusing. They're not going to know where to go. I said, can we please just like redesign this? The meat of what is of the message can be there legally, but can we just test and learn these two different templates? That's all I want to do. And I want to add a few pieces of copy here, and I just want to see if the customer behavior is different. And they said, well, so are you saying that we're going to send the one we want to send, the bad one, to half of the group, and then you want to send your good one to the other half? That doesn't seem right fair to the customer. And we're like, I don't know. This is our opinion of what is good or bad. We need the customer to tell us. So we ran the test, and then the fast follow was going to be the winner. I said, whatever's the better communication to help the customer to change their behavior, that's the one we'll go with. And, I mean, I don't like to brag, but we won. Ours was better.
I honestly, I kind of felt it might go that way.
I know. You know what, though? I'm okay with fails. We failed a lot in my last job. We had a lot of fails.
I just think your insight for a lot more legal getting the copy up in front it makes sense. It's a great consumer
Yeah.
insight to start with.
Yeah.
And winning over your internal team by doing an A/B test that they can see the results is a really
Yeah. Well, and
smart
now
way
we
to
have that
manage.
template.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it allows us to move quicker in these like tight situations where you have to have a lot of people review things because it's Ford. But now we have something that everybody can align to because we know it's better for the customer. We know that they're able to change their behavior about it. We have data to support that. We know which segmentation is going to work. And so then it helped us to kind of make that decision.
Are there cases in which you have the benefit of your experience on the job? Are there times when you see that a test and learn comes out and you're like, whoa, really surprised by
The results?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a tricky one. I'm trying to think of one that went sideways. You know what? There was one, I don't know if so this was a test and learn, but this is not what I did at Ford. So it was another company. We had a perception, there was a perception that people wanted to still call our company. And we had a hypothesis as a team when I was on the CX team that texting would have been fine. And I think it was through our IVR. We had people calling in, and then we would just give them the website because we wanted to redirect them to digital. And somebody said, well, they don't want to use digital channels. They just want to call us. We should just let them call us, which, costs the company a lot more money. And I said, well, what if we did this? What if we tested a group? What if we said, what if we're just making it a not frictionless experience? What if we needed to just make it easier for the customer to be able to get online? You're reading a website on the phone. Like, that's not helpful to the customer. So I said, what if we test people opting in to get a text message, and then we're giving them a link of where to go to, get their appointment? And they were like, okay, whatever. I don't think that's going to be very, very helpful. And so it took us only 2 weeks to implement. I think it was like, this is not a fail, but it was $20,000 to do. And it made the company, it increased conversion and drove more traffic on site, on our website. It increased our conversion by like $4 million.
For a 20K test?
For a $20,000 test.
Yeah, that's great.
But I think this is where, I was shocked by that.
Yeah.
I didn't think that many people, we were not capturing that many people calling in. I thought there was a whole website team that was constantly optimizing that. Yeah. So it's like there's no more fruit to bear. There's no way we're going to be able to run a test. So I think when you say shocking, to me, I didn't know there was that much revenue we were actually losing by just telling people to go to a website and hanging up on them, and we were.
And what's interesting to me about just beyond the results is how tied your job is to the CX, to the user experience,
yeah.
and knowing that whole entire journey.
Yeah. So we partner with the CX team all the time. They're launching experiences all the time. So we help them with their test and learn plans on communications. So they're coming up with all these really cool ideas at Ford, which they are all the time, and we're testing new products. And the nice thing is we are a centralized organization, which I think works really, really well. I feel like CRM can kind of sit anywhere within an org. It can either be in digital or marketing. I've seen it within CX, lots of different places. But what I like about where we're at right now is we can help all different parts of the org because we're seeing the whole customer. And that's what we're trying to get to is how can we be a resource to others to learn more about the customer versus them coming to us telling us what we need to go sell.
Makes sense. So we talked about little changes. Let's go back a second and talk about big changes. So you mentioned the evolution. If you're just somewhere along your CRM journey at a company, what advice do you have thinking about platforms, about some of the macro opportunities, and then maybe a few more little changes, because those are good pieces of advice.
Yeah. So I would say start small. I would not immediately jump into platform first. I think that is that is the mistake that I have seen a lot of organizations do. They get very excited about the platform and all the platform can do for them. And then they get kind of overwhelmed by all of the capabilities of the platform. So I would say, first, do an analysis of your first party data. Understand your customer. You don't have to even go talk to them. I guarantee that most of the people in this room work at organizations that have tons of data about your customer, that you can hire a data scientist or hire a company to come in and give you that analysis. And if you buy enough media, sometimes your media company will do it for you for free. So that's a little tip.
That's true.
Yes, that is true. It's true. It's true. So so they can give you directionally, what are the segments you have? What can you learn about your customer? Ford did this, and it was a great presentation, so it helped me get up to speed very, very quickly on our first party data, like what's working, what's not working, what do I need to fix? That can give you your first kind of foundational roadmap of what you need to do to kind of build out your plan of like little things that you can change. Then I would figure out, with the data you do have and with the tools you already have before you invest in something new, what are some test and learns that you can start to run to build that business case? And then also understand where the biggest opportunities are for you to make a change. Usually organizations go with like 1 or 2 use cases. But what I've also seen is they bring in the new platform to build those use cases for them versus trying to get the most out of the technology you already have. Because if you bring somebody new in from a technology standpoint, there's integrations that have to happen and all of these things that you have to do. And then you won't be able to launch that customer experience that you want to do very, very quickly. So I would recommend once you got an idea of what your first party data looks like, once you've got that hypothesis, build a few testing plans and use cases that you can do and kind of build whatever you're trying to do. Maybe it's increasing your NPS with your customers. Maybe it's increasing retention or conversion. Find that business goal and then build out a few test and learn plans to kind of help you build the business case of why you might need to either upgrade, change platforms, add platforms, things like that can allow you to then move around.
And then in your experience, when is the time, if you're going to do that work first so you're not wasting money just on the how, you got all the information on the why, when did you implement something because it was a need? Like obviously we talked about Ford having so many great tools, but is there like what are some of the platforms or things that you've seen kind of help a case or help you be more efficient or help you?
Anything you can automate. If you can automate your journeys, if you can build out a customer journey that allows the customer to free flow up and down, and you can leverage your data to do that, that saves a lot. That saves a lot of time and efficiency. Saving your segments. I've been in organizations where they rebuild a segment every single time they do a deployment. Which that is very time and costly to do. And then I would just say, like, understand what the value of the things that you're shifting. So I knew going in the organization that if I lifted retention by just 1% at this old company, I knew how much money that would make for the organization. And so I would just encourage everybody, no matter where you're at, like understand what your C-suite cares about. Is it like, what is their biggest problem? Is it retention? Is it conversion? Is it lifting like their accessories business because it's got a great margin? Find out what those things are and then focus on that one thing. Try to focus on that one thing, find a use case, and then try to do some test and learn plans against that.
And let the data show that
the customer will tell you what they want. The customer will tell you what they want.
So that's really exciting, and also really good idea to get an idea of what the C-suite wants and hit that mark in your first 7 months there. So what are what are you excited about in the next year or so?
Oh my gosh. The next year. So I've been there 8 months now. I think, well, one, I'm excited about new leadership coming in, so I'm hoping that is announced soon. So I'm super pumped about that. There's been a lot of new leaders that have come into Ford that I'm super excited about. They just hired, it was announced last week. The gentleman that launched the software business at Apple is now the head of our integrated services at Ford, which is pretty exciting. And I get to meet with him next week, so that's exciting next week because we're launching some new products and we want to get his insights into what we're doing and what we're building. So that's pretty exciting. So a lot of really great new talent. There's a new way of purchasing that we're going to be rolling out, which is very exciting, that another team is working on, but I get to work with them hand in hand. And then I would just say continuing our transformation onto a new platform has been really fun. I'm excited about the opportunity of rolling out more test and learn throughout the organization. It's something that I've been passionate about, and I did a lot in my last role, and have been in lockstep with our digital team to kind of make that a practice in the organization. So I'm hoping that we can continue to do that at Ford. So that's what I'm pretty excited about.
I mean, it sounds like an exciting roadmap, and there's so many great things happening. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's and you're here in Columbus, right? So
I am.
So the small
I'm
question,
local.
She's local.
I'm local. They
And-
didn't make me move.
And did you? So from a remote work standpoint,
Yeah.
you have to go up a lot to Detroit. Are you
Yeah.
able to manage all of these massive transformations in the company from right
Remotely?
here in C-Bus?
Yeah, so I go up about once a month. It's sometimes every other week. It just depends. I had a little summer break, so that was a little nice. But if you haven't been to Detroit, because I talk about Columbus all the time to the Detroit people, and then they roll their eyes at me because of that. Yes, I.O. Yes, so it's sometimes a little contentious, but I'm really selling C-Bus. Like, my boss is like, I feel like I need to come to Columbus for vacation because you just talk about how great it is and how much you love it here.
I'm doing the same thing with Chicago.
Yeah, well, she lives in Chicago. So she's like, I feel like I need to come to Columbus and just kind of check it out. But yeah, no, so I go up there like every other week, so it's not too bad.
That's all right. Just as long as you probably stay true to the.
I do. They have really good restaurants downtown, though.
Yeah.
Their downtown's really cool.
It is good.
Yes.
It is great.
Yeah.
Okay, do you mind if I open up to
Sure.
Q&A? How much time? We have just a couple minutes, right?
Yeah.
2 or 3 questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and ask any questions?
Yeah.
First of all, thank you. I learned so much.
Oh my gosh.
You're so enthusiastic.
Oh, I love I love what I do. So, yeah.
I've actually got 2 or 3 questions, but if you're not comfortable answering, just
Sure.
ask. I'm curious to know what technology platform you're on.
Yes. For what though? I'm going to ask you for what. There's a lot.
That's a lot of.
Yeah, I can tell you some of the stuff we're using. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then you're very fortunate. You have incredible first-party data, right?
Yeah.
Which I assume comes from the dealer. So what is that righteous
Not
balance?
necessarily.
Ooh. So how are you
Yes.
gathering that? But
Yeah.
is there a righteous balance? Like the dealer's like, no, we want to make that point of contact.
Yes.
Stay
There
out
is.
of it. Okay.
I can talk about some of that.
And no, I'm just so curious about all that.
Yeah.
And then is there a link between the CRM and the social, like the engagement? So
We're getting there. So I'm going to start with the social part. They just hired their first internal social team about 2 years ago, which is interesting. Everything was outsourced. So the person they hired, she's unbelievable, and is really starting to build the brand online. We are just now dipping our toe into that because it was all outsourced, all social. There was not an in-house social team, and that was at the vision of our head of integrated marketing, who came in and said that was something that we need to do. So we're testing integration between social and CRM right now, but it's not as advanced probably where we should be, like most retailers. Back to your dealer versus us data question. So there is a understanding and regular touch point with our dealers. They are critical to our success, and we are critical to theirs. So one of the things that we've been really focused on from a CRM standpoint is how do we get clean data from them, and vice versa? How do we share clean data with back and forth? We call it tier 1 versus tier 3. So tier 1 is like national, tier 2 is regional, and tier 3 is local and more dealer focused. We're running tests right now, which is very new, to understand what is best for the customer. If it is better for the dealer to send a message out to the customer, then we should allow the dealer to do that, but we should allow our customers to tell us that that works better, versus Ford reaching out to them and telling them that they need to go do something. So it's a new experiment right now that we're just kind of dipping our toe in, but it is definitely getting that integration is important. And then your first question was about the tech stack. So we're in the middle of a Salesforce migration right now, which I'm very familiar with their platform. But a lot of our upfront tooling, like targeting and site authoring and web and app authoring and things like that, we're using Adobe. We use Pega for decisioning tool. We have a lot of best in class, to be honest. Right now, we're all figuring out across the organization, how does it all work together? Because we have a lot. This is why I say you can have best in class tools, but if you don't know how to leverage the data or where the data needs to fit, it doesn't all matter. Yep. One more. Yeah.
I was curious about where and how you're getting data that's feeding the lifestyle aspect, because obviously you've got a lot of the product piece,
Yes.
but how are you making those inferences about lifestyles?
So we're doing a lot of events, which is really interesting. And it started with the relaunch of Hromco. So they're doing these like explorer events where you can like come out and take your truck and go on like a crazy wild event. They're going to festivals and like reaching out to like a younger demographic. Our sponsorship deals are getting more diverse to understand how our brand fits into other people's lives and different types of backgrounds. And then we're also seeing, we have a lot of vehicle data. We're seeing where people drive and understanding that. So that helps us to understand. But there is this line between privacy and marketing, which you're probably very well and very familiar with. So we are working through like what is the right way to leverage that data that's helpful to the customer and not invasive.
Thank you. This
Yeah.
is like so lovely.
Oh,
you are
so
really
lovely.
lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brand Innovators,
Thank
for
you.
letting us do a fireside together.
Yes.
Thank you.